So today's session, it's called remote management. So what's remote management? Is let's say you have different set of servers, different set of, let's say, SQL servers, and you want to run maintenance on it, or you want to check specific features on it, or run a script, or check anything for that matter on that machine, or run anything for that
Mhm.
matter on that machine. And to do that,
Okay.
yes, of course, you can remote it using invoke command. I mean, try and run it with invoke command on a remote computer. But for you to do that, uh, uh, there are certain things that has to be done on that machine so that it accepts the remote session that you establish, or the remote command list that you pass it to. So only if it accepts that, if there is any block or any firewall rule, it can't handle it, right? Even if you pass anything, it'll just either your machine cannot reach it, or your machine can reach that remote server, and then it blocks because there is a certain rule. Yeah, that's what today's session is about. It's about enabling the remote sessions, and configuring it, and how do you pass remote command lists, or pass remote scripts, or create a new
Okay.
session and run command lists on it. Okay, there are
Okay.
more than one ways to run commands or script on a remote computer, but yeah. So first
Okay.
off, let me open PowerShell.
So,
So see what happened when I try and read the PS session configuration. It's starting the WinRM service. So WinRM is Windows Remote Management Service, which in the background will run and start when you try and establish a remote session to
Mhm.
any machine. And, to enable the, let's say you want to run commandlets on your SQL service remotely, you need to use this commandlet, enable PS remoting. Sometimes you have to pass it with force switch, but uh, that's the, okay, you can also do this. Enable. So yeah, this is another commandlet that I want you to know. That's -l. So basically, if you want to see what are all the switches, or what are all the parameters that any commandlet can have, and then read the description of what it does, and things like that, you can use -l. And then if you pass it the commandlet, it will just it'll show you the contents of what that command does, what all the switches it takes, and things like that. Just give it a sec. I shouldn't have done this now. So basically, okay, while it does that, let's do another thing.
So are you trying to connect another server?
Yeah, before I,
SP is the
yeah, yeah, that
SP is the
that's what,
server name.
yeah, that's what today's session is all about. So before I do that, there are certain things that we need to configure on uh, the server itself, and that you don't have to configure yourself. That will be there, like that'll be managed by whoever manages your SQL server, like the hosting team, the Windows or the Linux team, where you're yeah, of course the Windows, not the Linux, uh, the Windows team who actually OCM machine, who runs the updates, Windows updates, who uh, certainly just manages it, right? Not the SQL team, but it is better to know what are all the services that help you run remote commandlets, and what are all the configurations that you need. and I'm trying to get you to see these configurations. Yep, it's here. So, okay. So enable PS remoting commandlet, what it does is here. Okay, are you able to see this? So basically, when you run this commandlet, it runs this commandlet in the backend, and what it does is do these set of steps. So unless you want to do these steps manually, uh, there are certain times you don't want to uh, run the commandlet in itself, and you want to see the steps that it does, and you want to perform it yourself, and this is what you need to do. So first, to start the WinRM service, and if you recall, when I did the get remote configuration, right? PS session configuration, sorry, it tried to start the WinRM service, which is the first step for you to uh, run remote commandlets on any server, right? And first one is to start the WinRM service. Remember, this is to be done on the machine that you want to remote into. Let's say your machine is India's machine, and there's a SQL Server 1, and you want to run this on SQL Server 1 so that you can, on your India's machine, connect to the SQL Server 1. Okay, and then it sets the startup type to automatic. Basically, you set the service to start as soon as the machine boots up. So that uh, so if it's delayed start or something like that, let's say the server has been rebooted and there is a certain delay before which you can actually remote into that machine, and you do not want that. You want the service to be up as soon as the server is up, so that you can remote into the server without issues, and run your commandlets as soon as the server is out, because you manage your software, your application on the server, and you want that application to be uh, running all the time, uh, whenever the server is up, of course. So basically, it creates a listener to accept requests on any IP address. So certainly you can control it. So you'll not be doing this, like I said earlier, but you need to know this so that you know what happens in the backend when you do this remote partial, and when there are certain blocks, or when you see some issues, you at least have some sort of knowledge on what could potentially be the issue, so that you can take a look and try and figure things out quicker than what it can take, really. Okay. So you can certainly configure this to listen to specific IP address, not just any IP address. And then, so you can set up a firewall rule for that. And then, of course, enables a firewall exception for MS management communication. What it means is, so if you recall, uh, that day we try to read the CPU. I think it's on my demo. We try to read the CPU utilization and the RAM utilization. So that makes use of WS management commandlet. So WS management is Windows Server Management Commandlets. That's a module in on itself, and it has everything to do with what your machine has to offer, like RAM, CPU, or anything related to your hardware. Those commandlets are in the WS management communications, and there's a certain block to WS management communication, because you can't run it from any machine, right? So only that machine is allowed to run that specific module, and this sets up exception for it. And
Interesting. Okay.
again, in basically it registers it, and okay, and enables the session configuration. The theory is good, but let's see what we need to do, at least to do this. I mean, to get into a remote partial session. Okay. So the command that is new hyphen. So once that is established, you do know that we can do this invoke hyphen command. I I taught you this on the first day. So it's basically invocation command and then the computer name. Come on, that's my bad. Okay, and then the script block. Basically, you provide anything, and this will run it on the remote server one or whatever server you provided to. And this is one method of uh, connecting to a remote server and executing a specific, let's say, job or a specific command. Like, and there are other ways, like you can create a PS session with a specific configuration. Like what I mean by configuration is, so this is PS session, and let's say you want to load a, okay, for me to teach you that. Okay, let's say I open a partial session, open just partial application, right? I open partial, it does nothing. It is empty, and for me to run anything specific to any application, like let's say I want to run SQL, I need to import or install the SQL modules. So what are the SQL modules? SQL modules basically comprises of all the command that is specific to SQL that will be developed by that application team itself from the Microsoft. So basically, for me to get any SQL specific information, okay, let me get you the SQL version module, SQL Server PS, right? So, okay, you need to see this. So these are the SQL Server module and SQL Server PS, I guess. Yeah, SQL Server and SQL PS. These are the modules that comprises of SQL commandlets. And for you to run SQL specific stuff, you need to first install it. And if it's already installed, import it into your PowerShell system. Unless you import it, the commandlets will not be recognized. You simply can't just run it. Okay. And to install any specific modules, you need to use this command like install hyphen module and then use hyphen m is the switch and then the module name. And the same goes for SQL PS. So for SQL PS, you can just swap SQL Server with SQL PS and it'll basically try and install it. And to see if a module is installed on your machine, you can make use of get hyphen module. Yeah, you can certainly do this to see. So I don't have that installed on my machine. No worries. So, just because there is no SQL Server module in this machine, it did not show up. Okay. And let's say you want to look up all the modules that are installed on that machine. I think we actually looked up this commandlet the first day. So you can do this. So unless I specify the module name, it will not look for it. It will look for everything because I use the switch hyphen list available. Okay. And yeah, of course, you can use dot version or just use get hyphen module. It will show you the version of it because this is the version. And these are the command lists that it supports. You can certainly expand this and take a look. But before we go that, okay. Okay. So that's the module. One second. Okay. So we have those
SQL
modules.
Server module means
So basically,
like
when I run any, let's say I do, what
so
would
you
be,
have like any DD2 tool like SQL Server Management Studio or like
basically that, yeah. So you want to check anything within SQL, like run
Mhm.
any commandlet specific to SQL, those will be created. Like the commandlets in itself are scripts, right? So they in the backend will get your inputs, whatever you pass it to it, and it'll run specific functions and it'll try to return you some output, right? So for it to do that, someone would have wrote a module, someone would have wrote specific functions, compiled it into a module, and provided to your general public. So that's how modules get created, and those will be hosted in I think GitHub or Microsoft servers. So when you install it, you basically get it from there, and then you import it. You're able to use those commandlets. Like how for you to use this commandlet, enable Windows error reporting, you need to import the script. So this is installed, but you need to import it and then use this commandlet. If not, if you try and run this commandlet, it basically give you an error stating that commandlet uh, it couldn't recognize the commandlet. That's the error that you'll get. It'll be all red. So yeah, that's that's what
So
module comes in. Yeah.
okay, so if I have already in my computer SQL Server Management Studio 2019, for example,
Mhm.
so on when I run this command, it will be pop up that
No. So Management Studio is another client, right? Like you try and manage, connect to your SQL servers with that piece of software. That's sort of like your Outlook client where you can read your mailbooks, or a OneDrive client where you can read your OneDrive contents, right? But module is bit like that. You need to install it, like how you install the Management Studio, you install the modules for you to use it. So basically, let's say you want to look up a certain SQL server, look up a certain database, and you want to see the
Mhm,
users list, like the UAL. Let's say you want to perform the user audit
mhm.
every month or so, or on a specific set of servers. For you to do that, you need to install the SQL Server Management, the SQL Server module first, and then the commandlet for it. Just give me a sec. Let me get that. Okay, the commandlet is get-SQL database. So it's part of the SQL Server module. And for you to use that commandlet, you need to first install and import that module. So that's where the module comes into picture. So yeah, why I told you what module to use is this. So like how you use invoke-hyphen command, you can do get-ps session, and then the configuration name would be the
So
module name.
PS is what is PS?
PowerShell session. So you're
Okay.
just creating a PowerShell session so that it connects to a remote computer, and and
So
basically allow you to use that machine. And
so you
so
are giving the remote computer name over there, like how?
yeah, let's say. So let's say the configuration name would be SQL Server in this instance. The computer name would be your what do you call it? SQL Server 1. Syndia SQL Server, something like that. Like it'll be the actual server name, Syndia SQL Server, or even you can use the IP of that machine of that SQL Server. So basically, what this means, it'll create a PS session, basically a session for you, so that you can just connect and run your commandlets without doing anything. So for now, if you want to use any specific any SQL specific commandlet, you need to first get to Powershell, load the configuration, and let's say you want to remote and you want to remote into the server, load the configuration, I mean load the module, and then execute the commandlets. But let's say you do get FNPS, I mean, actually this has to be not get, this has to be new PS session, because you are creating one new FNPS session, so that will create a session for you which you can connect into and run your commandlets on that server. So basically you define the module name here, you define the server name here, and then you can define the credentials here. And if the credentials with which you connect to the server is different from the credentials you connect to your Windows machine, you do
Mhm.
hyphen credential and then do get hyphen credentials. Get-hyphen credentials, what it will do is it will pop you requesting you to input your credentials, whatever you want to use to connect to that specific mission or to use in this specific commandlet. And you'll only use this if your credentials differ from what you use on your base mission. And if the credentials are the same, you can skip using this hyphen credential and get hyphen credentials. Okay, and then yeah, basically that's that. If I press enter, it will just throw me an error because that's not a module that I've installed, or that's not a valid computer name. But once you create it, uh, ignore the error. Of course, the service is also not running. I need to enable it. And let's say I've created the pay session. So how do I get into it? So I need to do this enter hyphen ps session and then give the session name. So once you create that new PS session, it will create different sessions there. And you can also do get PS session to get FNP session will give you the name of all the sessions that you've created, and then you can use enter hyphen PS session and then give the session name here, and that will just connect to, let's say you have different sessions created for let's say SQL Server 1, SQL Server 2, and SQL Server 3, and I want SQL Server session 1 here so that I connect to the specific server. And once I do that, what it will do, it will take me to the partial prompt on that specific server. And once it does that, whatever I run, basically whatever I run, this is running on SQL Server 1. Whatever I run will be running on that specific machine on SQL Server 1 if I've connected to that specific session. So whatever I type will be executed on this server. So for me to exit that, I need to use exit hyphen ps session. Unless I do that, whatever I type in this partial interface is being run on that machine. So be wary when you're using this, unless uh, be very specific that you do exit hyphen ps session, because you might be thinking that you're working on your base machine, but you might be working on that SQL Server itself. And there is two. Let's say you entered the PS session and you have been using it for a while. Let's say for about 4 or 5 hours, and you've been playing around with Powershell, or you've been doing your administrative tasks, something like that. And how do you know which mission it's connected to, or which mission that is? You can just do host name and it will basically give you your host name there. So if it's a SQL Server 1, it will give you the SQL Server 1, and if it's your base mission, it will give you your base mission name. So you can identify like that, and then do exit hyphen ps session to exit out of it. Okay. So this is another way of using, like I said earlier, this invoke hyphen command. So how in the invocation command we connected to a specific SQL server and executed one specific, so yes, block. Yeah, strip block. So we ran a specific command like something like hyphen commander or something like that. In our previous session we did that, right? I think you tested it as well. So basically invoke hyphen command runs that specific command or the specific script there. And what happens when you want to keep using different commandlets, and you want to keep using it, you want to pass different stuff to the partial on the SQL Server 1, and you want to try a lot of stuff, and you can't keep using the invoke f1 command because it's going to be an hassle, right? In those cases, you do this: you create a new use session uh, to that computer, so SQL Server 1, that machine, and then once a new PE session is done, you try and see, you try and connect first. Enter hyphen PE session is what you do to connect to that machine. One second. And then computer name would be SQL Server 1. So you basically connect to that PS session. And whatever you type, let's say like I said earlier, you want to use it for about 4 hours. You have different set of commandlets or different set of scripts you want to run on that machine. And instead of using invoke fn command, you can straight away run those scripts here or run those commands here. So everything you run will be run on the actual machine itself. Okay, and then once you're done, you can use exit PS session. That's how it works. So are you able to see what's the difference between invoke command and PS sessions, and why it why we use both, and in which scenarios this might be helpful? Cynthia, be able to follow that?
Mhm. Not exactly.
Not exactly. Okay, no problem. When we are doing the practical session towards the end of session, we'll take care of it. No problem. So yes, enter and exit. So okay, let's talk about jobs, remote jobs. So yes, of course, you can get into a remote session or you can invoke commandlets, but let's say you want to run uh, a specific set of commandlets or specific set of scripts on a server, on a remote server, and you want to make track of it. You want to see what the status of the job is, and if it
Okay.
completed or not, so that let's say you are running a script, so that unless that specific script completes, you can't take a look at let's say take a look at a report, and for you to even use that report, that job, that command has to complete, right? For you to know if it completed or not, yeah, let's say you prematurely open that workbook or that report, so basically it halts the script from writing anything to the report itself. So in those cases, or in many more cases, such cases, what you need to do is you can make use of jobs in Powershell. So basically, if you create a job and then provide whatever command let or script you're running to it,
Mhm.
you'll know the status of it. Let's say it's running, it's initializing, it stopped, it had an error, and things like that. You can
Mhm.
uh, see. Even uh, the CPUs which it's running on, the process IDs and process names. You can take a look at those, and if it's stuck or something like that, you can basically see what's happening when the script is running. And then let's say the script is running and it hangs, right? So you can take a look at the process ID and see the status, what the status is, and then take remediative actions. You might need to stop it and reinitiate your script and things like that. There could be uh, things happening uh, in scenarios like in specific scenarios. So how do you do that? Let's go to start. Am I typing or not typing? So start hyphen job script block.
Yeah.
Basically, let's run get hyphen command. And so for me to track this job, so of course I'm submitting a job. For me to track it, I need to assign it to a variable so that I can refer it later, right? So let's call it sample job. Sample job is this, and
Start job.
so
Yeah.
basically that job, what it does is execute that commandlet. It can be a script as well. It doesn't have to be a commandlet. So I run that, and let's say I need to see the job. So basically, when you do get hyphen job, it will give you all the jobs, and you want to look at a specific job, right? So those cases. Okay. So in those cases, you'll use the job name. Sorry. Okay. So basically, the state refers to what the job status. So basically, that commandlet executed, so it says completed. Let's say you're running something else and it's taking a lot of time. It will say running. So yeah, of course, we can use there, I guess. So yeah. So basically, sample job will contain the output from the commandlet get command. Come on, it should be okay. That's new. So, okay, no problem. Instead of using elephant job, you can also take a look at the variable that we created, sample job. It basically contains the same stuff as what you did with your job. So, if you do elephant job, you'll get all the jobs. But if you save, when you're creating a job, when you're saving it to a variable name, you can certainly just use that variable name to take a look at that job in itself, and not look at anything any other one, so that you don't get confused with one and another, and get into issues, right? And let's say
Mhm.
the job is executed, or let's say the job has certain issue. Okay, how do you take a look at the issues? So, job. So basically, what happened is when you do receive a job, so whenever you run jobs, right, it's saved in your memory, or it's saved in your machine, and there's a lot of uh, specific commandlets or specific scripts can return you a lot of results, and this is the result from where does it start and where does it end? Yep. Yep. So when you do receive hyphen job, it basically gives all the outputs from when you ran the command as a job. So I submit a job, right? I saw the status. Once it is completed, I receive the job and get the contents. And yeah, of course, I can just plain away uh, do that to return the results on my screen, or I can assign it to a variable and then I can use it later. So I can call it report SQL server one. So basically, I create jobs like this. So for each server or for each commandlet, I run specific certain jobs, and then once I see the status and it's completed, I use this receive hyphen job to get the results, and then I can do whatever I want to do. If I want to manipulate the data, I can manipulate it, or if I want to plain out export the results, I can do export FNCSV and then export them to a report, and then whoever needs it can take a look, or if you need it, you can take a look, and things like that. And in certain scenarios, you might need to stop certain jobs. And let's say if a specific job is stuck, is just stuck for some reason or another, there are certain processes where not sure if you've seen this before. I'm sure you've seen this before. There's certain apps where when you open it, you might see uh, the circle, the white circle is spinning, and then you see a freeze on at least on that specific app. And those are the cases where you see the process ID is just stuck, or the process is just stuck. And what you do in those scenarios, you need to use stop hyphen job first to stop that specific job. Stop hyphen job, and then the job name here.
Mhm.
Uh, here, as our job has already stopped, so um, even if I pass it, it won't stop it since it already executed it. But in those scenarios, in scenarios where it is stuck, you make use of this command. Let's stop hyphen job,
So
and even
job,
if you stop it, yeah, yeah, go
hmm.
on.
if the job is like whatever function is happening into the computer. like
Mm-hmm.
such as like a task scheduler. So task scheduler is running the some type of a report, and all of a sudden it stopped working. You
Mm-hmm.
mean that type of jobs?
Yeah, but remember, this job is the one that you created for your own specific commandlet or your specific script. So basically, let's say your script looks up the local users or the approved users in a DB, whoever can get into the DB, whatever functions they have, doesn't matter. So if they have, uh, they are listed in a specific DB as a user. So let's say that script gets those members of the SQL DB. So I create a job so that let's say after I look it up, I create a report which will create a CSV, and then let's say it will also create an email, generate an email, it will attach that report to a specific set of users. So this is comprised on a script. Let's say I want to run such script, but for me to see where it failed, or for me to uh, open the report or open my email, before I do that, I need to take a look if the script actually completed or not. And for me to do that, to make to track that script, I can create a job. Basically, what happens is I create a job, I give it the commandlet or the script I want to run. It will so that once I create the job, I can track it. How do I track it? Is to do get job, and then whatever I submit it, I can track with the get job. And let's say if there is any errors, or if the script is stuck for some reason, one or another, I'll do stop job. And once I stop, even if I stop, the state will go to stop. So I need to remove it so that it does not occupy stale memory. So basically, remove fn job, job name and sample. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Before even you familiarize with your with these commandlets, what job actually does, right? I'll just reiterate it once again. So for me to track a specific commandlet or specific script execution basically means the script starts. Let's say it has three different blocks, three different functions. For let's say each function takes about an hour. Because let's say it looks up many of the stuff, and in those scenarios, for any script that runs for an hour or more, you want to track it. You want to see the script is actually working, if it's completed, if it's stuck, so that you can uh, take necessary actions. Let's say if it's stuck, you stop it, you restart it. Also, you remove any stale processes that is still stuck with the previous run of the script, right? So basically, what you do is you assign it to a job so that you can make track that script execution. So basically, when I run the script, and if it's still running, I'll see with get job, I can see if it's still running. So basically, the state will say running, and if the state has any errors, you'll know, or if the state says it's failed, you'll know that script has failed and it is not still running. So basically, in those cases, you have to create another or run the same script again, basically, so that you in certain scenarios you might be thinking that you ran the script. Of course I ran the script, I should be getting this report, or I should be getting this email, but why didn't I get it? And if you don't have that email, you can make use of the partial jobs to see if the job has failed or if the job is still running, so that you can take necessary actions. And if it's failed, you can start it again. And if it has any errors, you can stop it and start it again. And if it's still running, you know that it is still running, and you'll be getting that email. Or there are certain scenarios where it is completed, but you didn't get the email. You have the report, but you don't have the email. So basically, your script worked, but the email could be in junk or in quarantine and things like that. And there are certain scenarios which you can control, but at least the script execution part you can control. You can see with this jobs. And of course, to start a job, you start a job, and then pass it the start a job. The script block will basically have your uh, i.ps1 or whatever PS script, partial script that you want to execute. And once you do start job, you can track it with get job.
So we don't have to give the path over here, like not even
Of
to
course, you
the
have to,
doctor.
yeah, but to for you to, yeah, start job, yes. When you are mentioning the script block,
Mm-hmm.
let's say my script is present in C Windows System 32, I can certainly just give the script name. And if it's not in System 32, I need to give the absolute path, and absolute path can be something like C users Cynthia
That's
is
okay.
top, and then the
So
script name.
last time I remember you said if there is a C Windows System 32, we can add a point.
Hmm. Yeah. So basically, let's say that script is within C Windows System 32. I can do
Mhm,
this, and let's say it's under C Windows System 32. There is a folder called scripts. And then
mhm,
within the script, my script.ps1 is there. So in those cases, I can just use this because what
right.
it means is it'll look up under this directory, of course, wherever you are, the actual working directory, and then it will take a look at this path. So basically, scripts is a folder and then script.ps1 is a file. So yeah, this is a relative path. So there are scenarios where you do not want to use relative path because the script might be running remotely and stuff like that. When it runs remotely, it might load in a different file or folder. In those cases, better to use the absolute path. By absolute path, I mean the full file folder architecture. Let's say C users admin and then your script name, the complete file name with the directory name and stuff. Okay. So
Mm.
that's it for today's session, though it was not very big, I guess. It only took about 50 minutes or 45. So basically, today's session was about partial remoting and how to use or how to configure remote sessions on and about partial jobs, how do you track script
Mhm.
execution and stuff like that. So um, I'll make you a presenter, share your screen. I'll give you a couple things to do so that
Okay.
okay. So I've given you three minor tasks. The first one is to use invocation command. So see if you're able to, yeah, nice. The script blocks. The script will basically comprise of your commandlet or your script. So let's say if you do not have a script, you can just make use of any commandlets like get command or something like that. Code. Just type in any commandlet.
Mm.
Not invocation command, it will again invoke another command. So basically,
Okay.
what it means is invocation command, it has a switch called hyphen script block, right? You can specify that, and since you haven't specified it, it has asked you to supply the values for the switch because that switch is mandatory. So yeah, of course, you have to just give the commandlet or the script there. It is an,
Mine?
yeah, you can do that. Okay, no problem. Do invocation command and then give a space. No, 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 that's good. Right,
Okay.
right. Yeah, just see. So that's a good troubleshooting methodology that you just did. So yeah, just enter it. So you're able to use this. Okay. So now you're trying to use invoke hyphen command. Yeah, do the same thing. Invoke hyphen command and then hyphen script block.
Mm, let
Okay,
me
so
spell.
for you to create a peer session, you have to use new hyphen peer session. The commandlet is right. Um, yeah, new hyphen peer session. Yeah, and give a
Session.
space and for you to see any switches you can just type hyphen and then hit tab. Yeah, you seeing what all the switches that is possible to provide it, right? The computer name, of course, and just
Mhm.
give any computer name.
Okay. Um,
That doesn't matter since you do not have a valid computer connected
Mhm.
to it. Yeah, just press enter. And remember, for us to use SQL module, we need to use another switch. Hit up arrow again, up arrow. Yeah, uh, you need to use another switch. Try and figure it out. No, not that. Hit backspace. No, no. Hit backspace. Keep it in. Yeah. So for you to use this module, you need to use just type hyphen. No, the underscore hyphen. The configuration. If you're able to see, that's the fourth option listed. So the configuration name will contain the configuration you want it to load, and the configuration you want it to load is the SQL Server module. Yeah, SQL Server. Yep, that's it. No, no, don't give the module. So the module name is just SQL Server or SQL PS for SQL Server. So you need to first install those modules, of course, but once you've installed it, you can just give the name here and press enter. That's how you create a PS session where it connects to a remote computer and it loads a specific module. And once this is done, so yeah, you have created the session, but how do you make use of it? You have to enter into the PS session. So try and figure it out. Enter the PS session. Just type enter and then keep tabbing to see. Yeah. So PS source process is there. PS session is there. Good. So yeah, this is how you connect. Of course, you can give the session name there, but since you've created only one PS session, you can just use enter hyphen PS session to get into that session. Yeah. The computer name you can give 1 2 3 4 5. And now it'll keep throwing you errors, but in reality this is how you get to a specific session. And you can let's say you do the same command, let again get hyphen command. When you do get hyphen command, it throw you all the results, right? It will throw you the results from this server 1 2 3 4 5 5. That's the server from which it will get the get hyphen command and then give you the results on, so that anything you run on the Powershell is from the remote server that you connected to from this remote session. So yeah, you can skip this command and you can try and exit this space session, because since I said anything you run on this is actually being run on that remote server, and you do not need that. You want to get it to your base machine back. So how do you do it? You need to use exit PS session. Yeah. Exit hyphen hyphen PS session. Hit
Mhm.
tab. Not So once you make use of this command, and what it will do is it will log you out of this session, or it will exit out of the session. So after you run this, whatever you run is being run on your base machine and not on the remote machine. Okay, okay, that aside, and let me know if you have any doubts here for the PS session at least.
No, I don't have any doubts actually.
No problem.
I don't have any question. Like,
Yeah,
it's kind
yeah,
of
no
easy.
problem. You can keep practicing. As you practice, you'll have
Yeah.
questions and you can reach out
Mhm.
to me and I'll certainly help you out. So now, let's create a job. So, do you recall the commandlet?
Mhm.
It's,
Yes.
it's create in here. And then equals India's job or just India. Yeah. Commandlet
Mhm.
was new hyphen job. New hyphen job. Job. Not this. Give me a sec. It's start hyphen job, sorry. Yep. Start hyphen job. No,
Start. Okay.
hyphen job. Yep. And then you need to give it the script block, the basically commandlet or the script. So space hyphen. Yep. The same way how you use the invoke hyphen command, and then use curly braces, not down, curly. Give a space and then a curly. Yeah. It's better to use space so that you know the difference between the commandlet. Yeah. No, within the script log and the curly brace. Yeah. And then the script name you can mention here or just give any commandlet. Let's say get FN command for our instance here. To get FN command. Or you can also do this. Yeah. One sec. Okay. Press enter. So basically, you are running a job called Cynthia, right? So you need to see the status. So you can use get job to take a look at the status of the job that you just submitted. Okay. Yeah. Yep. So basically, it says completed. And let's say you see that it has some errors and you want to stop it. What do you do? Let's say it's stuck. You want to stop. What do you do?
Exit? No.
Stop
Okay.
job. Yep. Stop job. Yeah. And then the job name. So here there is no such any jobs that needs to be stopped, so you can skip it. Hit Control C. So even if you give the ID one, just try and give one there.
Okay.
Okay, no problem. Even if you try and stop it, it won't stop because it has already completed.
Do we need to give a job name?
Yeah, you
Job.
can certainly give that.
Mm,
Yeah, so it has to be within the switch. So whenever you pass, yeah, it will be in a switch. So it'll
the
be in
curly?
hyphen. No, yeah, curly is good, but before you do that, when you mention job name there, you have to use the switch hyphen. Hyphen is when you try and call a switch here.
Okay.
And then the actual name. So here it's India, I guess. Yeah, yeah, of course, the name, yeah, job one. Yeah, you can use that. Hit enter. And remember the command let us start stop hyphen job, not jot. There's a typo there. So that's why you're getting there.
Mhm.
Stop hyphen job, the commandlet in itself. JOD, it's there. Instead of that, it has to be JOB.
Oh, okay.
Yep, it's a type. Yeah, hit enter. Okay, it says the parameter hyphen job name is not valid one. No problem. Type stop hyphen job and then hit hyphen. Yeah, just the hyphen, nothing else. Backspace and just hit hyphen one so that it can show you okay, space hyphen, no space and then hyphen. Okay, so these are the switches that you can use. Of course, you can use the job hyphen job. So you tab, yep, and then space job one. Yep, no problem. You can use the ID. Hit up arrow once again, and then instead of hyphen job, use hyphen ID. ID. Yep, yep. ID hyphen ID, and it one there. So we know the ID because we ran that get hyphen job there. Yep, yep. And then hit enter. So it will basically stop the job if it's still running, but we know it's already stopped. And let's say it's completed. The job is completed. How do you get the results? You want to store it to a variable. So do so first create a variable called yeah my results or something like that. Dollar my results or dollar results. Type dollar results equals. So basically, you're storing whatever the output was from the job. So to do that, dollar results equals, and then you have to do one sec. Receive hyphen job is the commandlet name. Receive hyphen job. Then space, the switch is called no, and then e. Okay, receive hyphen job. Okay, the wait. The receive, there's a typo. RECEIV, receive
E C
E.
I V.
Okay.
Oh, E I V. Okay.
Hyphen job.
Receive. Mm,
Yep.
okay. Job.
And then give a space, and then you need to provide a switch. So basically, it will receive all the jobs, but you do not want that. You want to receive a certain job. Yeah, you can use hyphen job, and then so if you recall, you created the job name as Cynthia space Cynthia. Up, hit enter. Right. Did you not use Cynthia? Okay, no problem. You can use the ID here. Yeah, of course, you need to use dollars India and not just India because you
Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah.
yeah, mention dollars India. Yep. Yeah, now hit enter. So if you take a look at dollar results, just type dollar results. So basically, whatever your job did is stored on dollar results. Dollar results.
Mm-hmm. Dollar results. Okay.
Hmm. Dollars India will have the job in itself. So
Mm-hmm.
what happened to the job? What's the name of the job? What's the ID of the job? On the what the status? Stuff like that. Dollar results. Since you used reservation job, will get the job and get all the results from the job and store it in dollar results. So you want to yeah. So the actual commandlet ran with the job, but the results you saved it on a variable called dollar results. So I know this can be a lot to take in because this covers vast things. So keep practicing. So at least know these are the stuff that you can do so that you know later if you have a need to, you can make use of it. But practice. Try and practice whatever we did. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me and certainly help you
Okay. Yeah.
out. Let
Okay.
me know if you have any questions like here or anything you wanted
I
to
was like,
ask.
it's
Yep.
kind of new. I'm getting it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So far, I
I
don't have
totally
any
understand.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, if yeah, I would do the same. So practice. Unless you practice, you won't get into issues. Unless you get into issues, you won't have questions.
Mhm.
And once you keep having questions, you certainly tend to gain experience, and that's how you learn stuff, right? So yeah, just try it out, and you can certainly reach out to me on WhatsApp, or the next session we connect, and we can certainly I will help you out. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.